Good morning, folks. We'll get started. Thanks for attending the Standard-Times Conexion Hispana Candidate Forum. I just want to say that you folks are the elite in our democracy. You obviously intend to come out and vote, and you're not only going to vote, but you're going to make an informed vote. So thanks for attending this event. I'm going to introduce a few folks. If you look in the back there, you'll see our staff members, Monique Ching, John Tufts, and Sandy Rojas. And they'll be helping us out by collecting questions from you if you have questions you'd like to write down for the candidates. The way this is going to work today is we'll start out with the single member District 4 candidates, each of whom will have 5 minutes to tell you about why they ought to be elected. Following that, we'll have our moderator, Professor Jack Barbour from Angelo State University, read the questions from the audience. Professor Barbour will also be able to ask follow-up questions if he wishes to. And I'd like to introduce our panel, John Flint from Foster Communications, Lydia Ramon from Conexion Hispana, and I'll be the third panel member. I just want to sort of set this up briefly. The number of registered voters in San Angelo is about 48,903 at the close of registration. When we had a three-way race for mayor in 2013, our current mayor, Dwain Morrison, got into a runoff election on the strength of 2,295 votes. The percent of registered voters who cast ballots, it's the dark section of that pie, so you can see what the participation's like around here. This is single-member District 4 boundaries. It's in the Pauline and parts of north central San Angelo. I'd like for all of you to bear in mind that when we're talking to the single-member District 4 candidates, they don't just represent that district. The person who's elected to that position has 1 of 7 votes on city council. That's the same strength as the mayor has. So in District 4, we've got 6,769 registered voters. And when Don Vardaman won that city council race in 2013, 368 people voted in that election. And you can see what the very small percentage of people was who voted. So anyway, congratulations to you and thanks for coming out. You're the people who make our democracy work. Some information about voting here. Early voting starts on Monday. It runs through May the 1st. I'm sorry, May the 5th. Those are the hours. That'll be held at the Tom Green County Elections Office over in the Ed B. Keys building on Beauregard Avenue. Keep in mind that if you like to vote with a paper ballot, you're going to have to do it during early voting because on voting day, on election day, May 9th, you'll only be able to vote through electronic voting machines. And you'll be able to vote at 18 voting centers, and if you want to see where those polling places are, you can go to votetomgreencounty.org. And with that, you may have some questions about the process. We're going to take written questions for the candidates, and if you look back where Sandy is standing there's some writing materials on that table. Write your questions down, raise your hand, and Monique or Sandy will come around and collect those questions and take them up to Professor Barbour. So we'll start with our single-member District 4 candidates. Lucy Gonzales, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Lucy Gonzales, and I am running for City Council, Single District 4, in this year's May election. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm running. I was raised in El Dorado. I have lived and worked in San Angelo for over 27 years. I have used my degree in criminal justice as an employee for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Parole Division for over 26 years. I'm married to Gilbert Gonzales. I have a daughter, Brooke Sanchez, and a stepdaughter, Holly Gonzales. Both girls graduated from the San Angelo School District. I'm a member of Paul Ann Baptist Church and have been for over 20 years. I am now retired and would like to use my time to not only serve as a representative for District 4, but for the city of San Angelo as a whole. When I started to think about running for office, I thought about it and thought about it. I was like, what is it that I want to do? And it's put in my heart that I have had this passion all my life about wanting to help people. And when the opportunity arose, I decided to take it. And that is why I'm here in front of you today, because I've stepped out of my comfort zone. I've decided that this is what I want to do. I want to help people. A couple of months ago, I had a lady that called me, and she says to me, I have one of your signs out in my front yard, but I won't be able to vote for you because I'm on parole. And I said, well, that's fine. What is it that I can help you with? And we discussed her problems and what she had been going through, that she hadn't been able to get any help. And she informed me that she and her sister were both MHMR clients. So I asked her, have you gone to to your caseworker and asked her if she could possibly maybe get an apartment for you and your sister? And she says, well, we don't want to move. We want to stay in this home because this was our mom's home. She goes, and at the end of our conversation, she ended it with saying, it's just that we're tired of having to wash our dishes in the bathtub. Well, this is happening in my district, and this is why I say that I want to help the city employees, help the citizens of San Angelo. I also went through this firsthand, first experience. It happened to me not too long ago. I was wanting some help from the city, and I did not get it. So 2 days later, I'm talking to the city manager and explaining to him, this is why I'm running. There's got to be something that needs to be done that we can bridge that gap between the employees and the citizens where we can get some answers. So mind you, the city employees do a great job. Just yesterday, they were out there helping the community. They were painting, they were working at the animal shelter, they were doing all kinds of things. This is great. This is good to see. I love to see the rapport and the relationships that they're building together. But at the end of the day, I would like to see that the citizens walk away thinking, I was heard, my questions were answered, and I'm good with it. I have always been a person that most of my adult life have been put in a position that I gather information and then make an informative decision. I would like to do this as your next city council person, is get my information and then, and only then, make a decision that's going to be the best for all the city of San Angelo. Thank you.
Andrew Justis.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you for having me today. I want to thank our panel and our questionnaire, and I truly want to thank you for coming today. I am originally from California. I was born and raised in California. I am the oldest of 4 children. I've been raised in a Christian family all my life. I hold those values and those principles dearly. We moved from California to Flagstaff, Arizona in 2000. And prior to moving to Flagstaff, I had worked for the Department of Defense as a civilian employee at a naval facility that encompasses 1 million acres. And so I worked on RD, research and development, test and evaluation, electronics and mechanical engineering. I went to work for the National Weather Service for 5 years in 2000. I worked in the field on their equipment, as for all of the equipment that the National Weather Service has, In 2005, I retired on a disability retirement. In 2008, we moved to San Angelo, and I went to work managing a local radio station with all the technical details I'd already learned on how to manage a radio station, even that small, handling the programming, handling the equipment, bringing everything up together. I am married. I've been married for 27 years. I have a son who's 21, a junior at ASU, and a daughter who's 18, a junior at Lakeview. When we moved to San Angelo, we were just welcomed. I had the greatest feeling like I was part of the community the first day I was here, and it was a wonderful feeling. I hadn't had that feeling since we lived in California in such small towns. And I truly appreciate that, and I would like to give back to the community, as part of that. Thank you for their helping us. Part of what I would like to see done in San Angelo is I have a vision to see not only families flourish, but to improve and diversify our economic base, add in more manufacturing type businesses, add in more businesses that bring in good jobs. And the reason why I see that is at any time BRAC could come back and it could hammer Goodfellow, and even if Goodfellow took a 15 to 20% cut, it will affect our community. And if oil takes a bigger drop than what it has now, it's going to affect our community. And what I want to see is different kind of jobs that help keep you employed and help keep you having food on the table, the mortgage paid, the rent paid, and give you the opportunity to succeed in areas that are outside of just Goodfellow and oil. And I'm not against either one. I think both are great, but I want to hedge our bets and not just assume that those two are going to always be here. And one other thing is city debt. I want to make sure that we stay on the straight and narrow and not use up any surplus that we have right now just because we have a surplus. And I realize our tendency is to burn that surplus when we have it. I'm guilty of that myself. And so I want to see us to spend wisely and to spend in areas that we need to. And finally, water and streets are the two big hot topics. They have been this whole race. And I agree, but I want to say thank you to the citizens, you out there who have conserved water. More than anything else, you have helped keep us from being in a deficit of water beyond what we could have handled just because you have conserved. And our streets, I want to see our streets get fixed. And I realize that we already have capital improvements in place, and I want to see those go forward, and I want to see those get fixed. So as your representative for District 4, I will push for that. And as your representative for District 4, I will look for opportunities for new jobs. And not just in District 4, but in all of San Angelo. And I thank you, and I would appreciate your consideration during this election time.
Are there any questions for our two candidates for District 4?
Yes, sir. Let me start out with asking Ms. Gonzales. Of course, both of you were at the follow-up at the PAC Durham Club meeting. You stated that you wanted to have a look at better city economic and business-based situations. Could you be more specific on how you're going to go do this? How will you do this?
I believe that was Andrew's.
Was that
platform.
Andrews?
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry. I am so sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, let me state with you, as you have stated before, you're not an experienced politician,
That is correct.
but you, what you're doing to get yourself, what are you doing to get yourself prepared to be more knowledgeable to some degree of city government, if you're elected?
I have attended city council meetings since that time. I have been informed, I've spoken to previous city council people that have informed me of how they've handled things before, how they go about finding the information, how they have come to their decisions that they have made in the past. So a lot of it is going to be things that I'm going to have to read about, learn about, and be informed about in order to be able to do the job. And I feel that I can do this.
Thank you.
This question is for Mr. Justis. You have said that you would like to see truck routes within the city. How do you propose to come up with that plan? And of course, the reason for doing that, obviously, is road maintenance. Trucks are very, very tough on our streets, and it could be very expensive. How are you going to do it? How are you going to pay for it?
Thank you. Part of what we're going to have to look at is to survey the city where the major truck routes are. And in the process of surveying the city, find out where the businesses that require trucks are. And then take an evaluation of where we can do that, and either look at having a gasoline tax if that is appropriate with the voters, a half cent, or look at other ways of doing that. But yes, I realize that's expensive, and I realize that it is a significant cost and a significant issue for the city. But I also realize that maintenance-wise, we could save some of our other streets by having designated truck routes.
Mrs. Gonzales, you mentioned in one of our questionnaires that you might consider taking part of the half-cent sales tax for water infrastructure repairs. How much money do you think that would involve, and how would you go about doing that?
Okay, as far as the half-cent sales tax, I believe that even now what they're doing is that they take so much, and it's for water projects. And I believe also, not too long ago, as a matter of fact, the last council meeting, they proposed to not give the rebate because the goal was not met. I believe that they had in their budget, operation budget, under $1 million, and their goal was close to $5 million. It was $4,900,000. So I believe if they continue to do this, that the fact that we will be able to have money saved up, so when these projects do arise, when we do find the resources, that we're able to find to along with Abilene and Midland, that together with San Angelo, and we find these resources, we'll be able to finance them.
Thank you. Mr. Justis, you'd mentioned the possibility of imposing a half-cent fuel tax to assist with road repairs and maintenance. How much money do you imagine that would generate, and how would it be administrated?
With a half-cent sales tax, again, I would ask the people if they would want this. But I would say, based on the amount of fuel that's used in San Angelo, we're probably looking at, I'm going to swag the figures because I haven't really run them yet. I would say somewhere between 2 and 3 million. And so at that point, you take each street one at a time, and you bite off a chunk you can handle with that money, and you set it aside, and you just continue to work and repair streets, and not try to bite off more than you chew. As they say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Mrs. Gonzales, you mentioned an experience you had with someone who lives in single-member District 4 who needed some assistance. Could you give us your assessment of how the city's doing in assisting some of its poorest residents, and what you think what you think can be done in that area?
I believe that as far as the assistance, some people are very confronted. They want answers, and they will continue to look for them. Other people, when you're told, no, you're not eligible, they kind of just go back and say, well, I didn't get the help. I know that there's a lot of resources available out there, and I know that there are organizations that do help people get their homes fixed and stuff, but apparently this lady has not reached that organization, and I would like to see that happen. And I would, whether I'm elected or not, I really want to go and help this lady see what she can do.
Thank you.
I do have some questions now, if I can bring this in. A follow-up to Mr. Justis's question about the half-cent sales tax. Sales tax is a very regressive tax, hurting the poor and hitting them the hardest. Do you have any ideas of raising revenue that are less regressive and less oppressive on the poor?
Good question. I have not looked at it any further than that yet. I'm afraid if we raise property taxes, we're right in the same avenue. If we raise sales taxes, we're going in the same direction. And I also realize that some of the poor actually don't drive as much as some of the rest of us. And so yes, that does hit them in their pocketbook. But at some point in time, I also look at it this way. The longer we allow our streets to be unmaintained, the more it's actually costing them in maintenance costs, not only for them but also for the city as the wear and tear on our vehicles.
I have a question here for both of you. All candidates have spoken about our streets and the need to repair them. Where or how do you propose to find the funds for this very expensive project, which is kind of similar to what I just asked? That's for both of you.
Okay. Well, I believe that the amount that they were talking about is the $150 million that it's going to take for us to fix our streets. I believe that they have the debt that the city has right now is at $170 million. They have come down from about $250 million. So we're making progress there. So I believe that they would look for loans for us to be able to get our streets repaired. We do have, I'm sure the budget shows that there is money there available to start fixing the streets. In time, they have a period of maybe a 5-year term that within so long that they in 5 years they would be able to raise enough money. But the streets do not only need to be repaired, they do need to be maintained, or we will be right back where we are today.
Back on that question again, I look at it this way. Yes, we do need to repair our streets, and there is a 5-year capital improvement project already set in place to deal with our streets. And I know there's some money set aside on that. And I believe that over 5 years, with proper management, we can get our streets fixed. And I'm not one that believes we need to do it overnight. That to me is a sign of desperation. And I realize some of our streets are in bad shape. And we need to attack them soon for the benefit of the city and for the benefit of the citizens. But since I'm only one vote in 7, I have to also defer to the rest of the council and say, how can we work together and solve this problem a little bit at a time and make sure we get all of our streets fixed?
I have 3 more questions here for both of you. Comments have been made about the need for growth and economic development. How do you see this being accomplished?
Well, I've spoken to Mr. Pena, and he's our economic developer, and he is working on a project as we speak right now. He's wanting to bring in more industrial and commercial businesses into town so that, in fact, our city can have more money and not have to raise any kind of tax to our taxpayers at this time. I believe that it takes time, but it will eventually come to pass. We will have these businesses, and the only way that I see that it happening is the fact that our economic developer is the one that's his job. That's what he's supposed to do, and I believe that when these opportunities arise, he will be able to accomplish that.
I have been talking not only to the president of the COSO DC, but also to the Chamber of Commerce. And I've just recently talked to one of the deans at Howard College. And one of the avenues I want to pursue is not only economic development as far as new industries, but also set up an educational plan that will take advantage of what we have in San Angelo as far as education, maybe adding in some more education programs that help, in the electronics area where it's easily established, and those jobs do provide, a good income for people that have those skills. As a technician, not only for the National Weather Service, but for the Department of Defense, I was making almost $60,000 a year as a technician in the electronics field. And so I will take my background in the engineering and be able to find those sources where we can and see which opportunities will be best, and work alongside with our mayor, with the rest of the council, and with the Development Corporation and the Chamber of Commerce to find those individuals and those companies that want to come to San Angelo and use our resources, especially our manpower, because between ASU and Howard College, we do have some of that already in place. We just have to have the right jobs and the right industries in here to do that.
This again is for both of you. If you were elected to represent District 4, how do you see your role as you serve not only District 4 but the entire city?
I would see myself representing the whole city on issues that I can be informed on, that once the information is given to me, that I will sit here and make the best decision that's going to be for the whole city, not just my district, but the whole city. But the main thing that I think that one needs to do is be informed and know what it's going to revolve around. What is it? What are the good things in it? What are the bad things in it? Before making an informative decision.
I view this as a twofold process. Number one, I got to get to know more of the people in District 4, hear their concerns, hear what's biting at them, and then be willing to listen and provide answers. And second, again, be a voice on the city council approval, disapproval, and to help work with the other members to solve the problems in the city. And none of those are easy. None of those are instantly done. Those all take time. And I completely agree with the fact that this job is a hard job, and it takes men and women of caliber, of integrity to do it.
I'm sorry, I'm getting these notes in as you guys are talking. I don't mean to be rude. This would be for both of you again. You've mentioned that economic development and their jobs, but what will you do to support that person's role in the city? And then, well, let me give you that one, and then there's another one on this one too.
Okay.
What I'm assuming is economic developer, the hiring or having an economic developer in their jobs, and how would you support an economic developer's role in the city? I'm assuming that's what the question means.
Okay. What I'm understanding is that when an economic developer comes before the council and will ask about whatever project that they're wanting to develop, I believe that once it's presented, that the council will see it through, ask the proper questions and find out what is it that they're wanting to do, how much would it cost, the things around it that are going to complete it before approving it or disapproving it. That's what I get from the question. I'm not sure.
As far as economic development, there is a process. They have to go through the permits and planning. They need to be, up to speed with the Chamber of Commerce, the COSO DC. And I'm going to have, for me, I'm going to have to ask the hard questions. Have you walked through the process? Have you gone and visited with the people? Have you checked every avenue? Have you checked off every box for fulfilling your requirements to become, part of that economic development for the city? To add your name on a piece of property and bring in a business that will help build up the city.
This is from the same individual. Although each of you is one vote, you still have relationships with each other. How will you work with your fellow council members to best represent the interests of the people of San Angelo?
I believe that the way that you would get along with everybody is we respect each other. First of all, we know we all have different opinions, but when you have something that you need to vote on, you respect the fact that they are individuals. You have your say, your beliefs, and at the end of the day, you will respect each other and get along with each other because you will continue to work with each other. And as long as you know in your gut that you made the right decision, or that you feel you stood your ground and you felt like this was what I needed to do, and you do it, you're going to be okay, and the relationship will continue and you will get along. And this is for the best of the community.
I completely agree with that. You have to be willing to take the high road, and that is to treat everyone fairly, to treat everyone as valuable. And whether your opinions are opposite or not, you still have to work with them. You still have to treat them as a worthy, valuable commodity on this council. If we start bickering, we start fighting and dividing ourselves, we are going to accomplish very little for the city. And I do not want to see that personally.
Jack, can I follow up on that for just a second? That sounds great, but my question is, do you think you're being a little idealistic?
We can be. We can always hope for the best. But in the long run, I know that there's conflict. I know that there's times that people don't agree, and it goes over, But really, it's individuals that are going to react the way they know to react. And in your heart, you know what you need to do, and not be the type of person that's going to hold grudges, or because you're here, you're elected, these people have put you in a position to represent them. And when you do not represent them with respect, then you're really not doing your job. You're doing a disservice to the community. So yes, there will be probably times that people will have the conflicts, whether I'm elected or whether Mr. Justis is elected. We won't know till we get there, but I know how I would want to act.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, idealistically, yeah, we're talking about a perfect world. This is not going to be a perfect world. It's not going to be a perfect relationship. And so I have to take each time, each day, with the proper attitude that I'm going to have to be willing to listen as much as I am going to be willing to talk, and probably listen more and take the counsel of those that are with me, with just as much as respect as their counsel of me to find that resolution. I have spent a number of hours troubleshooting, difficult equipment, and sometimes the biggest thing to do is, or the best process is to take your time and just figure it out one step at a time and find all the solutions and find all the troubles, and then come up with a plan versus just tacking it with a sledgehammer and say, oh, we're just going to fix it and we're going to beat it to death, and then we'll have something here that looks like a mess, but we'll live with it. I don't want to do that. I want to see us work together if we can.
And the final question that I have is, I'm going to take you guys back in time to 2014. It is April 1st, 2014. How would you have cast your single member district's vote for the trash contract, either for it or against it? How would you have cast your vote?
Knowing what I know, because I don't know the inside, I don't know what goes on in closed sessions, but knowing what I know, I would have probably, with the information that I've been given, I would probably have voted to approve it, for the mere fact that from what I've heard, we'd had to make a decision. It was a good one. The council thought about it, and apparently 4 out of 7 thought so too. So I would have said yes to the contract, because I do believe that they did the best that they could. And sometimes that's all you can do, is the best that you know is going to be good for the community, for our citizens. And I think it was wholeheartedly done that way. They did believe that this was going to be the best for the community.
As far as the trash contract, hindsight's 20/20, and it always is. And so at the moment, I have to look at the variables that we have. I have to look at the situation we're in, and I have to look at the body of work from previous history of both companies that bid on this, and ask them, are they going to do the citizens of San Angelo the best possible business and the best possible good for the city? As far as voting one way or the other, I cannot say right now, because I don't necessarily have all the information I need to garner a vote for that. But, what's done is done as far as I'm concerned. We just need to move forward versus working backwards.
This one's for all of you, so we'll come back and probably give the mayoral candidates the same question. But right now, for the two of you, in making decisions that require your knowledge of our city's ordinances, policies, zoning requirements that are there to protect citizens, how will you make these hard decisions for San Angelo?
Again, you have to be informed. You have to know what are the ordinances, what is it that need to be updated, what needs to be changed. mostly it's getting in there and learning what you're actually going to do. Like I said, in my previous career, mine was all about gathering information and then making informative decisions. I'll just give you an example. When an offender would violate his parole, he would have to be taken to a parole hearing. During that time, I had to gather the whole process of taking him to that hearing, which meant going to the police department, getting the arrest report, getting the witnesses, and then they would ask me, either the offender or the family would ask me, what are you going to recommend? And I would say, I don't have a recommendation for you. I cannot tell you, because I will not make the decision till we're in that hearing and I have heard the last person testify. And that's what I'm saying here is you cannot make a decision until all the information is in and everything that you know about that ordinance has been reviewed. And if you don't know, you find out.
I look at it this way. We have people that are in the city that work on the codes and ordinances all the time. And those are the first people I want to talk to. I want to get their perspective. I want to get their expertise. I want to glean from them what they know. And then base that whole idea on code and ordinances in conjunction with the council, and work in a responsible manner to either update or leave the ordinances alone. But I want to hear from them, because they're the ones that are down there working on those on a daily basis. And yes, I do want to do my research. I want to know what's going on, but I definitely want to hear from them, because the last thing I want to do is make their job harder.
This question is for both of you. When the proposal to build a sand transloading facility over on Hill Street came up, there was enormous public opposition to that, even though it fell within the ordinance. What do you think the city can learn from that event?
I can only tell you I was not too informed about what was going on at that time. I did hear the controversy between the people and the population and the council. But what I can tell you is that when this community came together, they came together in numbers and they got what they wanted, and that's really good to see that when the community comes together, things do get accomplished.
Yeah, I didn't know much before. I only heard after the fact. And I have to agree, the city spoke, the community spoke. And I have to fall lock and step with them versus just running headlong into whatever I think is best for the city without taking into effect the community, their feelings, and their opinions.
The city recently, and this is for both of you as well, the city recently was notified that, or negotiated an agreement with First Financial Bank to purchase the building on Beauregard Avenue as a new police station. There's been talk about demolishing that building and building a new structure versus retrofitting that building to make it suitable for a police station. Where do you stand on that issue?
First of all, I don't think they're going to demolish it. I think that building can be used for other offices that the city may need to use. The water department has been there forever. They probably would welcome wanting to use that building. The thing about it is that was a process that they did. They're wanting to build a police station that is very much needed. But I do not think that building is going to be what they're going to use it for the mere fact that it's the same square footage as the one that they have today. So they really didn't get more to be able to build onto it. So I think that in the long run, it would probably benefit the city if they used it for different offices that are much needed also.
So just tagging along, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
but can I go ahead and ask for both of you so you can reply to him and also respond to this question? How much is the total cost of the police station building project, and how is it going to be funded? As we know, we've heard different ways that it's going to be funded, but if you both would answer that and answer the question that he had to go along with that.
Well, this much I do know is that the city, I think they're approximately paying $1.8 million for that building. I don't remember the exact figure, but I also remember hearing from Chief Vasquez saying that there was some set-offs that this building did not fit in as far as requirements from the federal government. And so there obviously needs to be some consideration on that part too. As far as the funding, we're obviously going to have to work together to find a viable resource all the way around to support this. And so I'm open to any opportunity that the rest of my council members find that works best for the city itself, knowing that each one of us has a stake and has a desire to support the city and the police station, because we obviously see that there needs to be an update in the police station.
Now, everything he said I agree with, except one thing. The funding is going to come from the citizens of San Angelo. They're going to put it on the ballot, and they're going to ask you, do you want a new police station? And then that's where the money's coming, is from the citizens.
In regard to property taxes, the city has been steadily decreasing the rate at which it taxes properties. However, because of appraisal increases, the property owners in San Angelo are paying increasing dollar amounts. Do you see any way to give property owners tax relief through through some means that the city could institute? For instance, trying to forecast what the appraisal increases are and keeping the dollar value amount within a certain limit by the rates that you set.
I'm trying to think about your question. You're wanting to know if the property taxes can be decreased?
No, but some way of controlling the amount that they increase by, other than the just setting a rate and letting the appraisals fall where they may.
I am not sure that I can answer that question at this time.
All right.
Thinking about that, obviously we could cap the amount that's taxed, and I realize there's a rate that's on there already set by the city. But as far as dropping that down, I think that we got to find a happy medium someplace along the line where we're collecting enough taxes to support the city and yet not collecting too much to the detriment of the community. And as the economy grows, obviously the price of houses is going to go up. So it's kind of it's a tug of war basically between people's pocketbooks and the city's coffers. I don't have an exact solution right now, but again, I'm going to ask my council members for some advice on this one and find out what they think and how we can work together to find that area of reason and compromise within our city.
Well, if there aren't any further questions at this point, we're just about to our 1 hour limit, so maybe we can take a 5-minute break and then we'll come to the mayoral candidates.
We will give each of the mayoral candidates a 5-minute time frame to start there and present their positions, and then we will follow the same type of format that we did for the District 4 candidates. Again, I have some questions up here. If you have questions, please send them up to me. And we will start and go in alphabetical order. So we will start off with the mayor first.
First of all, I'd like to say, Standard-Times, thank you for this opportunity and for this forum. I'm glad to be here today, but even more glad, I guess, that you are here today. I appreciate you attending our forum. I wrote this speech yesterday morning. It's 4 pages long, and it is an excellent speech. It's funny, it's informative, it's even inspirational. And I worked on it all day long and read it and practiced it over, and I was ready to give it until about 9 o'clock last night when my son sent me a letter. And after I read this letter, I determined that I would spend my 5 minutes reading the letter that my son wrote. Because the way he has written this and the words that he has written is far more succinct than anything that I am capable of reading or anything that I am capable of saying. So this is my middle son. His name is Brian David Morrison, Vicki and I's middle son. He wrote this, and I want to read the letter to you. It's called This Election. It begins, and I'm going to read this word for word, just exactly as he wrote it. It begins, this election has been tough. It has been taxing, and even at times, even personal. This election, at its core, is the story of a man. This man, despite being a novice, decided he wanted to serve his city as a public official. He threw his name in the hat and off he went on the campaign trail. This election is the story of a man who was spurred into action after witnessing what he considered ridiculous or even an unconstitutional action by the current city council. He determined to do better than those that were there, and it was not long until the first yard signs were proudly displayed around the city. This election is the story of a man whose platform existed only to bash a very controversial decision made by the council the previous year. Platform may be too loose a term. The man only knew he disagreed with their vote. He had no real answers to any real problems, yet he loudly and proudly spoke his mind to any that would listen. Some did, and many followed. This election is the story of a man who tried to shield his ignorance with sarcasm. His words often spoke with contempt for the current leaders, and condescension was often prevalent in his campaign speeches. When one does not know the facts, it is easy, you see, to speak freely and to be critical of others. This election is the story of a man who did not know what he did not know. People like this are often dangerous and are prone to offer unrealistic solutions and promises that cannot be fulfilled. This election is the story of a man who sought out public office for the proper reasons, at least as far as can be determined. His heart was in the right place, but quite often his mouth moved faster than his mind. Rude behavior should not be accepted by civic leaders. This election is the story of a man who ran full steam ahead in the campaign, talking with possible constituents at any possible opportunity, and he entered the backstretch of the election brimming with confidence, oblivious to the fences that he had erected between his supporters and those of the other candidate. Now I know that you're probably thinking what you're probably thinking, and you're probably wrong. This election is the story of a man, and that man is Dwain Morrison. You see, Dwain's first attempt to enter San Angelo politics was not successful. The year was 1986, and the city had just passed a very controversial sign ordinance that greatly affected Dwain's small car lot and the fence business on the North Chadbourn. He saw this as a reason to enter politics and ran for the city council seat of North Angelo. He was young and brash and sometimes obnoxious. His platform was simply to be the dissenting vote on the inept, dim-witted council. And on election day, the public realized the negative attitude, and he was soundly defeated, but he learned from his mistakes. This election is the story of a man who bided his time, learned the nuances of city politics, and honed his skill. He waited 16 years until the time was right, until the man was right, and he successfully ran for city council. His fervor has not changed, nor his belief in standing up for what he believed in regardless of the outcome. This election is the story of a man who served 10 years on the city council as a representative of North San Angelo until he decided to run for mayor. That campaign was also successful. Never one to shy away from difficult decisions, he willingly accepted all of the challenges that presented themselves. At times, the decisions were tough, and unfortunately, enemies were made along the way. Through it all, his experiences and maturity were evident. This is a man who learned through the baptism of fire how to lead. This election is the story of a man who wants to serve 2 more years as the mayor of the city of San Angelo. So consider your options. Evaluate their strengths, evaluate their weaknesses, and make your decision wisely. Insight is not something gained overnight, nor does one issue make a platform. Vote experience, vote wisdom, vote confidence, vote for Dwain Morrison on May 9. I have any time left?
Yeah, no, you've got time.
I do? Okay.
I was just scratching my ear.
Oh. My son wrote that. My son knows me better than anyone else other than my other 2 sons and my wife, and I appreciate very much the words that he said. I think that my strength as a mayor in the last 2 years has been the ability to negotiate, to compromise, and to bring the right people to the table. I am one voice, I am one vote, and nothing happens on the city council unless 4 people agree. So I can walk in like the my way or the highway. I can walk in and I can bully my council. I can walk in like I'm the only one whose vote matters, and I'm going to get absolutely nowhere because I have only one vote and one voice. So I have taken it to use gentle persuasion, to persuade people to see things my way. And I've worked hard for you as your mayor. I have worked tirelessly, and I have represented every city in this city, and I have strived to be the mayor that everyone in this city could be proud of. I have made mistakes. I have admitted my mistakes. I have tried to rectify the mistakes I've made, but I have learned from my mistakes. Every vote that I have taken has been conscientiously considered, has been conscientiously studied. I have done my homework, and I have not made one vote that violates my conscience. I was born and raised in the city of San Angelo. I still live here. My children live in this area, and every vote that I have made affects not only you and your family, it also affects me and my family. And I will do nothing to harm the citizens, my family, or the city of San Angelo, Texas. I have worked hard for you. I have tried to represent you in every way. I have been the voice. I have been the face of San Angelo. I have attended some 1,500 functions. And I'm asking you now to help me. Help me for 2 more years. Let me be your mayor for 2 more years. Let me work the 5 priorities that we have established as a council that we want to accomplish. Give me 2 more years to work that we can complete this. I am Dwain Morrison, and I ask for your vote on May 9th.
I'm David Nowlin. I also thank you for being here. I appreciate you coming to hear us and your interest. I have with me today my wife on the back row and my daughter Leela. We have 6 children. Leela's our youngest. She's 12 years old. We adopted her from China right before she was a year old. And we'd been coming to West Texas for 18, 20 years because we bought hunting property out here. We fell in love with San Angelo. My wife and I made a conscious decision when we got Leela that this is where we wanted to raise her. We saw the potential in San Angelo, fell in love with it immediately, and we haven't looked back. We're happy to be here. Now, I want to talk to you about a few points, one of them being leadership. Mr. Morrison and I disagree on several things. I don't believe that his style of leadership and mine mesh at all. I believe that some of the things he just described that he wasn't. I think that wanting 4 votes all the time is not a goal. I want 7 votes. I want a general consensus on that council. I constantly hear him say, I can't do anything without 4 votes. That's his only interest, is getting 4 votes. If you're going to be a good leader, you're going to have to learn how to use your influence, because the mayor doesn't have a lot of power. If you can use your influence to better another person's life, then that's leadership. I would think that many of you, if you haven't, all of you, you should, experience what it's like to change somebody's life, to help somebody when they really can make a turn in their life for the better. And what's really gratifying is to have that person call you back 2 or 3 or 4 years later when you haven't seen them and tell you, you know what you did changed my life. It turned me in a different direction. And I just wanted you to know that. That's happened to me several times. There's no greater reward than that. And I want to do it on a grand scale. I want to do it for 100,000 people. And my only reason to want to be your mayor is to see this city be better and to you to have better lives, right along with myself and our little girl. Now, our business sense. I don't think Dwain's a bad guy. I don't think he's a crook. A lot of people say that all the time, that Dwain's a crook, he did a crooked deal. I don't think he's a crook. I think he made a mistake. I don't think he made a good deal. I don't think he looked that trash contract over well enough. And had I been doing it, I found that most contracts that you really look over, you're going to find flaws and errors and things left out and omissions. And I think he got bad advice, took that advice, and he led that council in the wrong direction. Had I been the mayor, one of the questions a while ago was, would you have voted for that contract? No, I wouldn't have voted for that contract. And there were 3 more people on that council that agreed with me. Had I been the mayor, we'd have been going the other way. We'd have still been working on it. And I don't want to even try to make me believe that we wouldn't have been getting our trash picked up. We could have extended that by whatever means necessary. They don't mind asking us for an extension. Now I want to talk about transparency. Transparency to me is telling the truth and the whole truth. It shouldn't take the Freedom of Information Act to prize loose that original contract with Republic or this campaign to make you come out and say what the deal is, which is what's happened here. And a lack of transparency is a lack of respect for the people. There was an outcry not to do that. And the mayor, along with 3 other council members, went for it anyway, against what the public wanted. I'm not going to be that kind of mayor. I listen to the people. I want desperately to have my finger on the pulse and know what the people want and evaluate that before I cast a vote. If I'm mayor, you can count on me to listen to you. As a matter of fact, I know I can't do it alone. I don't think for 1 second, even though I'm 61 years old, started and been successful at several businesses, that I have the answers. I know that there's not a single one of you in this room that couldn't school me on something if given the opportunity. I'm not prideful. I work for you. You don't work for me. And if you'll let me be your mayor for the next 2 years, I won't focus on making meetings and campaigning. I'll focus on making this city better, doing whatever I have to, whatever I can to better our lives, all of us together. Ladies and gentlemen, what you see is what you get. You can count on me to do what I say I'll do and to be what I say I am. I'm David Nowlin, and I mean it when I say God bless you and God bless San Angelo.
I have more questions for you, Mr. Nowlin, than I do for Mayor Morrison. And then I have some questions for, I'm assuming, all 4 of you up there. And I'll come to those last. Let me start off with you, Mr. Nowlin. You voted against Lee Pfluger's sand frac depot operation on the ZBA. How do you reconcile your vote within the balance, I'm assuming balance with property rights of Mr. Pfluger? I'm assuming the question is you voted one way in the zoning board, and how do you reconcile that with the issue of property rights?
I'm all for property rights. I believed when I made that vote that a sand transfer depot there would have been heavy manufacturing, not light manufacturing, and it was zoned for light manufacturing. I'll say this publicly. I said it to Mr. Pfluger and both attorneys, and by the way, both attorneys are supporting me for mayor. We walked through that deal and did it methodically, did it right, and got a general consensus, so, a 5-0 vote, and everybody's happy with it. But when it comes to how he was going to do that, if, in my opinion, if he'd have stuck to it and said, I want to do this, and this is how I'm going to do it, and the way that they laid it out, we would have had to call that light manufacturing. And had that have been the case, I would have been forced to vote to allow it. But when I asked the question, and he had already said he wasn't going to do it, so I asked the question, if we allow this, then would the next person coming in here have to do it that way, or would they be able to do it just like Mr. Wardlaw had presented that it was done in Barnhart? And the answer I was given by the city attorney was, no, they could do it any way they wanted to, just like Barnhart. So that would have made it, in my opinion, heavy manufacturing, not light manufacturing. So that's the reason I cast my vote the way I did.
Okay. Let me give you another question, then I'll ask Mayor Morrison one. In an interview earlier, you said that, quote, I am not Dwain Morrison, end quote. That statement is true because experience seems to be one major difference between you two candidates. Please tell us what experience and knowledge you have of our city's overall functions, finances, staff, and departmental policies that you feel gives you that edge over our current mayor.
Well, for one thing, I think my business background, I can't do this with the city, so don't anybody take this wrong, but I know what it's like to sink everything I have into a business. I've done that more than once. I know what it's like to make decisions under pressure. I believe that that's a difference between Mr. Morrison and I. I believe that we're both in our 60s. It's a lot of it's our age and our life that takes us forward to this time when we could be able and willing and ready to run a government. And I'm not cutting down any young people. They might be better apt at it than us. But as for myself, I just believe that my business experience, what I've learned about leadership, and leadership has been a natural thing for me all my life. Whenever I was a young man in my early 20s, I was working for a major construction company, and they told me, David, just be patient, stay here. You'll be running this place someday. Well, I was too eager. I mean, a year is a long time when you're in your early 20s or two, and I moved on and did my own thing. But I just believe that making the decisions that I've made in my own business practices, that and knowing what I know about leadership, that I'm prepared to run this city. And I know that there's going to be a learning curve. I'm also prepared for that. I've been talking to the right people, knowing that when I step into this office, I'm not even going to be able to run the meeting as efficiently as he is, because he does it every time. But it's not rocket science. I'll catch up to it real quick. And the issues of the city, I pay attention to them. And I don't plan on making any decisions by myself. I don't plan on being the decision maker. Before I go into anything that's on that agenda, I'm going to ask other people's opinion and advice on it. So it won't be just me.
Thank you. I'll give you a break now and
Thank you.
give a question to Mayor Morrison. At previous forums, you announced your support for transparency. Now, $2 million of that trash contract, cash bonanza to subsidize water bills, commercial trash. Costs have risen 50 to 72%. Isn't that cash bonanza a hidden tax on businesses? Am I clear on what's being asked?
Understand. First of all, I would like to say that I'm not going to get down and dirty and negative in my campaign. I will do nothing but be positive. I will make nothing but positive remarks. I will not resort to name calling, because I have plenty of accomplishments that I have accomplished in the last 2 years. And on the chairs out there are brochures that tells of the 5 priorities that we have established as council. And there's also a brochure on the back that gives all the transparency, the conditions, the contract, and the charges on the trash contract. So I'm not going to resort to name calling. I'm not going to get down to try to tear someone else down to build myself up, because I don't have to do that. My campaign has been positive, and it will continue to be positive. That is my promise to the citizens of the city of San Angelo. I think now that the question was about the transparency of the trash contract. The trash contract was negotiated, and it was negotiated without allowing the two contracts, to be made public. There is a matter of law. We had two respondents. We had Texas Disposal and we had Republic. We sent out 7 proposals. We had 2 that came back. Both of these companies sent us a proposal. As city, we have a contractual law and a contractual we have to obey and to honor the contracts. Had I put Republic's contract up on the net and made it public to everyone in the entire world, I would have violated the contract that we have between Republic and the city. Had I put Texas Disposals up and gave it to the entire world, I would have violated a contractual agreement that the city had with TDS. There is a matter of law right in the middle of transparency and of confidentiality. I can say it this way: when you pick up a rope with confidentiality on one end, transparency on the other end, and law in the middle, when you pick up that rope and pulling it, you pull everything on the rope. We have law where we are obligated as a city to obey and to abide by the contracts and the security of the contracts. Immediately after these contracts were negotiated and signed, both contracts were placed on the line in our website in their entirety. You can go there today and read it. You could have gone there in the middle of August and read it. There's nothing that is not transparent about those contracts. But no one, if I went out on a fence bid, and I did many of these in my 25 years, if 2 competitors go out on a fence bid and I give you a price after I have bid it, I don't turn around and give that contract to my competitor. That is simply not the way things are done. And everybody in business realizes that you have to keep your negotiations silent until a contract is signed. And that's what we did. Then we talk about the $3.6 million. A landfill is a tremendously expensive and a tremendously valuable asset. We have not been receiving the value for our landfill. When we sent out the 2 proposals, we said, we have a valuable asset here. What will you give for our asset? Republic said, we will give you $3.6 million for the privilege and the honor of working your landfill. TDS said, we will give you $0 for the use of your landfill. Republic said, we'll pay you $550,000 a year lease. TDS said, we'll pay you $0 per year for lease. Republic said, we will pay off almost a $770,000 debt that you were paying for on your water bill for the methane flaring system that the state mandated. Texas Disposal said, we'll pay nothing. There is an $8.4 million landfill closure fee that must be in the bank when you close a landfill. We're about 10 years away. Republic said, we will pick up and pay for the $8.4 million fee that you, the citizens, have been paying for the last 4 years. TDS said, we'll give you nothing. Republic said, we will honor and take responsibility for the landfill, past, present, and future. TDS said, we will take $0 responsibility for the landfill, past, present, or future. And in fact, we will expect a letter from the city to indemnify us from any responsibility ever. Republic said, we will provide 2 pickups per week, 1 trash and 1 recycling, and we will charge you what we negotiated out with sales tax and the city fee for $15.12 per month. TDS started at almost $18 per month for the exact same service. Then we have to add the landfill closure in there. Then we have to add the flares back in there. Then we have to add the $170,000 that we pay each year, you pay as citizens, for the free once-a-month pickup. When you get through with sales tax and the 5%, you're up to approximately $22 from one company, where we're at $15 for the other. That's about $7 to $8 difference. And I give you a range because these are estimates. And we got tens of millions of dollars up front from Republic. TDS said, and I quote, we will operate your landfill for our cost plus 20%. That is writing a blank check from the citizens of San Angelo to TDS that we could not we could not negotiate this contract any other way than the way we negotiated it. And there were 7 members of the city council, unanimous vote, to go with Republic. Thank you.
This, I'm just going to ask all the questions out of respect for the people that wrote them. This is similar to the question that I just asked you, and so you may not have anything more to add to this, Mayor, but here's the question. In today's campaign, the trash issue continues to come up. Many citizens do not understand how the contract came about. Can you explain the RFP process? The RFP process that the contract negotiated.
I can.
Yeah, it's similar to the one that I just asked.
No, it's a little different. Our trash contract that we have had for the last 30 years, which is the very best trash contract in the entire free world, expired on July the 31st of 2014. That means that on July the 31st of 2014, that contract that we have enjoyed for the last 30 years ended, which means that on August 1st of 2014, we had 3 choices, and 3 choices only. We sent out 7 proposals for a request for proposals. Each one of them was exact in their wording. Each one of them had the exact same qualifications. Of the 7 that we sent out, we had 2 that responded. That means that on August the 1st of 2014, we could either go with Republic, we could go with TDS, or you could be burning your trash and hauling it to the dump yourself. There would have been no service. And those were the 3 options we had because the contract expired. Yes, we could have negotiated with Republic to have extended it. But when that contract ends, the contract ends, and they would not have been obligated for any of this upfront money. They would not have been obligated to stay with the prices that they offered us and quoted us. And had they got word that the other company was giving nothing to start and was way up here above them in cost, Republic would have pulled on their contract, and you, the citizens, would have been holding the bag. So we sent 7, we got 2. We had to make a choice between one of the 2. Did that answer the question, or did I miss something?
No, I think it did.
Okay.
I have 3 questions for Mr. Nowlin. They're all similar, dealing with leadership. So let me read all 3 of them, and then if you'd like me to go back to one of them more specifically, I would be. But they all seem to consider leadership issues. Can you explain your thoughts of having, quote, authority over council and the citizens of San Angelo qualify you more so than a, quote, one-person small business owner, end quote, that has leadership skills? And another question dealing with this, with all due respect, if you had to do it over, don't you think it would have been a good idea to get elected to the city council, find out how that works, learn the issues and the system before you took a shot at the mayor position? And finally, I'm concerned with your ability, experience, and understanding how to proceed when it comes to leading city council meetings through detailed discussions, intense controversies, and in giving citizens the rightful opportunity to speak before the council. My concern comes from observing you as you, quote, ran the ZBA meeting that heard the appeal of the city planning director's decision on the sand depot back in February. How can we be assured you can do the job of mayor with professionalism and authority when it seems that you are not comfortable with your role of chairman of the ZBA? They all deal with leadership issues, and let you respond if you want me to go back to one of these.
We'll start with that one and go backwards.
Okay.
On the sand transfer depot, first of all, my opponent was telling his constituents or our citizens nothing can be done. He talks fast and comes to quick conclusions, and that's not leadership at all. I, on the other hand, told the board, let's don't talk about it. Let's let this unfold. There was a lot of controversy, even when we weren't supposed to be talking about it, and it wasn't on our agenda. We have people coming in there and wanting to talk and won't stop, and I tried to be polite to them, let them talk, and I realized we're going to have to take this one step at a time. We will need to have them write their questions down and keep this in control. If we don't, it's going to be chaotic. And I believe we walked through that exactly the same way. And as I'll point out again, the attorneys on both sides are satisfied with the way I ran that meeting. It was lengthy, it was stressful, but we got it done, and both of those attorneys are supporting me monetarily and with their votes. Now, I think that speaks largely to that. As far as how you're going to, or how I will lead a council, it's going to be with kindness and consideration and respect. And anybody that comes up here to this podium to talk or make a request, it doesn't matter if it's one person or 200 people in here, they're going to get my same attention. Everybody has a right to present what they want to present. I'm not going to cut people off. I'm not going to be rude to other council members. And there's plenty of videos out there if you'd like to go watch them of the mayor and myself. I don't believe that I've ever been rude to anybody. I've had to stop some people from talking when we gave them a time limit, but that is what it is. But I'm very considerate of other people, the other members. If you'll notice, whenever I run the ZBA, I don't cut people off. I don't call people by their first names or pet names. I treat them with respect, call them Mr. and Ms., and I usually don't even make a motion, or rarely do I second. I let the members do it. And I walk through it with leadership, not like a boss. In my companies, I can be the boss if I want to. I also, to address, I think it was the first question, about running one-man companies. One of the companies that we run as a corporation, I'm not the only one that has a say-so in that company. I have to listen to other people, one of them being my wife. And it's not just my way or the highway. We decide what we're going to do. And I decide what's best. I've always looked at it this way. What is going to be best for that company? What is going to be best for the people that it affects? And myself last. I can tell you this. I'm a prayer. I pray about everything. And when I make a deal, I pray that the other person gets the better end of the deal. When I negotiate, when I'm using my own money and my own assets, I believe in leaving something laying on the table. I never try to take it all. I try to make sure that whoever I'm negotiating with walks away happy. And I believe God will take care of me. I never have had to worry about what I'm going to eat or where I'm going to live or am I going to prosper. I've always been prosperous. And I put myself in God's hands in that. Negotiation not hard. And I believe you're going to run the city council the same way. You're going to have people up here, they're going to have strong personalities. They're going to want certain things. And this may be, it's how I see it in my mind. Anybody in here like to ride horses? You know, I've had horses before, then they'll be real gentle and easy to ride, and then you get one that's high-strung, and a leaf blows, they'll jump sideways on you real quick. And I think sometimes people that serve in government tend to be that way. They'll jump sideways real quick, they're high-strung, they're fighting for something. I believe that's the way Mr. Morrison used to be, and people like that. He was the only man out many times. He's known as the one man 6-to-1 voter, or the 1 out of the 6 voter. But you're going to, as a leader of a city council, you're just going to have to do it with kindness, patience, and consideration of what they want. Let them talk, and see if we can't come to a general consensus. And I believe I can do that. Did I answer all 3 of those questions?
I think so. These are for Mayor Morrison. They're both similar questions, so let me read them both, and they're going back to the trash issue. The submitted Republic bid was not released by the city after the July vote. It required a Freedom of Information Act request to get the government, to get the city to release it to the public in September 14th. What were you hiding? And then a second one, the original Republic bid was for $11.54 per month with $7 million up front. The city negotiated the price up to $13.97 per month, and the government got $8.7 million more up front. Isn't that a hidden tax increase?
First answer, it is not true that it took an open meetings or an open records act to have the contracts released, because immediately within 2 days after the contract was signed, both contracts were posted in their entirety on our city website. So that is not true. Now, there was some open records, possibly some open records requests before the contract was negotiated. We did not release that until we had negotiated the contract, because we couldn't. We had law, contractual law, that kept us from telling what the other person was doing. So as soon as the contract was signed, it was posted in its entirety, both respondents, online. The original contract and the 7-0 vote that we took was that we felt that the Republic offered the best proposal. It offered a better proposal than TDS. And 7-0, by a 7-0 vote, we voted as a council to negotiate with Republic for the contract. That was what the motion was, to negotiate for a final contract. When we sent these proposals out, we asked for a range. We asked for a range of services. We asked for a range of prices. We asked for all of the many different ranges. It was a negotiated contract. It was not a contract where you said, I want a Ford F-150 with a 6-cylinder and a 4-speed transmission with air conditioning, give us a price. It was not that type of a contract. We asked for a range of services which required us to negotiate for the prices that we had, and we did. The original contract was for $11.54. The original contract from TDS was $18 and something originally. When we finally negotiated, we had them pick up the $8.4 million on a landfill closure fee, which the citizens have been paying for to the tune of a couple of dollars a month for the last 4 to 5 years. They picked up the flares and the methane flares, so almost $670,000. And all of this is on the brochure that's on your seat. They also picked up the flares. They also picked up the free once a month. They also picked up a $3.6 million fee to us, and they picked up an annual fee. They picked up all of these charges that we were going to have to charge the citizens. We have to have the landfill closure. We have to pay for the free dumps, each month. That has to be paid for. We have to pay for the flares. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. The citizens have been paying for it, and the citizens would have continued to pay for it. So all of these prices would have been added to the $11.54. So when it was finally negotiated, Republic said, we will pick it up for $13.97 a month. That's about $2.50. You would have been paying for it anyway when we added the charges that we are already obligated to pay back in. They said it also, if you will give us the $13.97, then we will give you these millions and millions and millions of dollars up front so that you can use it for the other things that you need so that the landfill can be profitable. Did I cover it? I don't remember all the questions now.
I think so, because they were talking about going from $11.54 to $13.97, and wasn't this a case of a hidden tax? But
it's not, and
yeah.
you're going to have to pay. We were going to have to add these other fees onto it anyway. And I also might add that even at $13.97, it's still $5 and some odd cents less than the other proposal gave us as a beginning point. So do the math.
This one is for Mr. Nowlin. When government subsidized housing was proposed for Valley View Drive, citizens attended the city council filling an overflow room in opposition to the apartments. How would you have voted for or against a city endorsement of, I guess, that item?
Under that particular circumstance, with that type of turnout of citizens against it, I would vote the way the citizens wanted me to vote. That's why they put you here, is to do their bidding. They don't put you here to do it your way. They put you here to do it their way. And I would have voted with them. Now, let me back up right quick on this trash contract. Just say very briefly, I'll be glad to give you $3.6 million too if you'll give me $10 million. That's kind of how that deal worked.
These are just general questions for both mayoral candidates. I haven't heard any more about the House Foundation underground pipe insurance since the fall of last year. Is this still going to come about? Both of you or either one of you?
We approved it. We approved it. I voted against this. I think that citizens in San Angelo, if they want to buy insurance, I think they ought to be able to buy it for any of the, I don't know how many hundreds of companies there are in the country that offer this exact type of insurance. If they want to buy it, I think they ought to have the right to buy it just like they buy their automobile insurance, their life insurance, their burial insurance, and any other insurance policy that they buy. But I don't think that the city needs to get into the business of selling and endorsing insurance for a private company. This company asked for our city seal. They asked for a letter from the city manager endorsing them. They asked for our mailing list, our water department billing mailing list. That's none of their business. They have no right to ask for that, and the city has no right and no responsibility and no authority to give any private company this, to give any private company a leg up or an advantage over another company that sells the same thing. I voted against it. I think it's wrong. I don't have a problem with the concept, but I don't think the city ought to be endorsing private business.
Well, he didn't leave me any room to bloviate. I agree with him 100%.
I think this question has already been answered, but let me ask it again in case either one of you would like to add something to it. Since the bank has been purchased by the city, has the thought of adding more square footage to accommodate a police station versus a bank, or excuse me, versus a bond election for a new complex?
This bank building was an excellent buy. We bought this thing far below the appraisal value, and I think it was $1.56 million that we paid for this building, far below what it is appraised. It's an excellent location. It's right where Highway 67 and 87 meet. It is close to the jail. It is close to downtown. It has to do with our downtown revitalization. It is a perfect location. We bought this thing knowing that it was not as big a building as the chief wanted. However, the chief has already proposed that we build a two-story parking garage back behind the building where he could park his vehicles. And I'm not opposed to that at all. I am very opposed to tearing this building down. I do not see a problem with having administration in a police building. We have other buildings around town that the police use now. I don't see a problem with having satellites throughout the city where police are stationed at satellites so that if there's problems in the north part of town, you've got policemen close by instead of having to come from one central downtown location. I don't have a problem with satellites, and I think this is something that could be discussed. As far as the building, I think it's perfect. I think it's perfect for a police station. It will have to be modified because a police station is not a bank, and a bank is not a police station. We knew that. But if we can get into this building and have a police station for $5 million, $6 million, somewhere in this area, that beats the $20 to $30 to $40 million that we're going to have to ask for in a bond election to buy ground and to build a new building that the police won't. This is a very good plan for us. And if it happens that right now we're paying for it out of general funds. If we decide to do X amount of money and need more funds, it will go to the voters for as a bond issue, and we will borrow the 1.56 back and add it to the bond issue. But it will be a bond issue if we get over a threshold that we're unable to handle in our general fund.
I'm a little bit more of a planner than that. Before I buy anything, I would like to have some sort of a plan with a realistic cost to remodel that building. We don't have any plans for that. If we have some, I'd like to see them. So you're throwing numbers out here like how much it's going to cost. You have no idea how much it's going to cost. We don't have any plans to build a new building. That also is a guess. I for one think we should have had those things in order before we went and bought the land. So if we buy it before we bought the building, if we bought it below appraisal value, what difference does that make if we tear it down? And that's still up in the air. The chief wants to tear it down. He says that it doesn't meet Homeland Security standards, and so he's pushing to tear it down. Mayor Morrison says, let's remodel it, and we don't know how much it costs to do it either way. something that's not right there, not good business sense.
We've been working on this project for the last 3 years. We have had engineers in the building. We have had appraisers in the building. Tim Vasquez hired a group 3 years ago to begin to looking at new locations and what he would need, and also to revamp this building. We have done our homework.
Let's move on to a couple issues, and I guess this would be open to all four of you if you have thoughts on it, but the mayoral candidates. I have two questions similar. I would like to know what's going to happen to the Avenue P project, and secondly, how will you fund roads? What streets are a top priority? What street, I can't understand this, are down to, well, what streets are your top priority? The Avenue P project, and then what streets are your top priority?
Who's first?
Pardon me?
Who's first?
Whoever like to start on it. I don't know what the Avenue P project is, so I don't know if that
That's what I was
goes-
going to say. I'll go first. I don't know what the Avenue P project is. The mayor will probably have an answer for that one. As far as getting the money for the roads, you know, when I make my own personal budget, like the house payment and the food are usually put in the budget first, and then everything else starts getting added to the top of that. I'd like to see money for our roads. When we make our next budget, it goes in there first, and then we start budgeting on top of that for everything else, and assure that we're going to start working on the roads, no matter what. And as far as which ones go first, the mayor says the study's still out on that. There's no way we're going to have any cost on that either, because we don't have a plan, we don't have the study back, we just have $150 million thrown out there. Well, we need $150 million, but we don't have a plan. And we don't even know which roads we're going to fix or to what extent we're going to fix them. That doesn't make sense either. But I want something in the budget. If I'm talking to the city manager the day I'm elected, I'm going to ask him, hey, what are we going to do on this next budget? What are we going to put in there for the roads? Come up with something. Give me a number. Let's put something in there first, and then we start budgeting on top of that.
Back in the mid-'80s, we had road equipment and we had road crews that worked on our roads and then maintained them on a yearly basis. In the mid-'80s, our city council and our city staff decided to sell our road equipment and to do away with our staff that did the work, because they felt that it was cheaper to privatize than it was to have the road equipment, and we did. We sold everything for pennies on the dollar. We got rid of our men that worked on the road, and we privatized, and it was it was exactly cheaper for about 1 year, and then the prices went through the roof. This is an absurd amount of money to buy this equipment back and hire the crews back. However, in our last budget session, we did authorize the hiring of a crew, and we are now buying some equipment so that we can maintain our roads. We also made it our number 2 priority as a city council last year that we would put $4 million into a road maintenance fund. This is quadrupled what we have put in the past, and as many as 8 times what we were putting in 2 to 3 years ago. We now put $4 million in this last budget cycle in a plan to maintain our roads, seal cracks, and to seal coat. And 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, we let the largest road contract that this city has ever let, somewhere between $3.5 to $5 million for road maintenance in our city. We have developed a plan that every 8 years we will maintain, seal crack every street in the entire city of San Angelo. This is a plan that has been adopted by City Council. It has been approved by city staff, and we not only made a plan, we financed the plan, and we are working our plan. There is also an engineering study going on right now where we've got laser trucks that are driving every foot of every street in the city of San Angelo to determine the condition of our streets. Some streets need a total, complete rebuild, such as Bell Street, MLK, Howard, College Hills. We know it. This is extremely, absurdly expensive. In the middle is mill and overlay, and some of our streets can be repaired with a mill and overlay. On the far left of the scale are cities that simply can be repaved. It is a $150 million problem that has been deteriorating since the mid-'80s, and in the last 2 years with the oil field, our roads have deteriorated at an alarming rate that no one could have planned on. We cannot borrow $150 million to fix our streets. You, as citizens, could not pay the debt on $150 million if we borrowed it. If we borrowed $150 million, we would not be able to hire the men and the equipment to come in here to fix our streets. So it must be done a little bit at a time. So what we will do is take the engineering study when it is completed in about a month or two, and we will determine how much money we can use. Say, and I'm throwing out a figure, let's say Bell Street is an $8 million job. So let's take $10 million. Let's borrow this money for a short term. Let's fix the streets that we can fix for $10 million. Let's pay it off. Then let's borrow $10 million more, and let's fix the streets that we can fix with the mill and overlay, with the pavement, and with the total reconstruction. Let's pay this off. Let's borrow another 10, and let's fix this group of streets. And by taking a bite at a time, we will eventually be able to fix a problem that was created and has been deteriorating for the last 30 to 35 years. We do have a plan. We are working our plan. We are financing the plan, and the plan is working well.
Again, I don't know what the Avenue P project.
The Avenue P project is a project that is on the Avenue P where it comes over to South Bryant, and it's a very low area. It's running right into the Red Arroyo and into the river. Johnny Silvas is the council member that has been working on this for the last 8 years. Every time it rains real hard, and there is a lot of rain, it floods the houses on Avenue P as it goes into Chadbourne Street. It's a very serious problem. We had a plan in effect, and through the half-cent sales tax, I guess it was 3 years ago, we developed a plan to go in there and to go through the Red Arroyo and to create ponds and to divert that water so that it ran off Avenue P. It would go underground. It would be carried in conduits so that it could get into the Red Arroyo and it could dissipate. However, we have had some engineers that have looked at this again. They say if we do this, we will not solve the problem of the rain, and we will in fact exacerbate the problem downstream for other people. So to fix the Avenue P problem the way we had planned on fixing it would just increase and spread the problem down so that we would have other houses that are considered. So the plan that we are talking about right now, and we're still talking about it, no decisions have been made, is that probably the best way to fix this would be to go in and buy the houses that are affected and take them out of the floodplain. If people want to live there knowing that they will flood, they will belong to the city. When they no longer need the house, then it would be torn down and it would just become property of the city. Right now, we don't know what we're going to do about this. The plan that we had in place that we thought would work has been proven that it will not work. All we're doing is just changing the problem from one place to another. So it's still out.
This question is, you've both talked about it, but let me just ask it. You have both talked a lot about past issues or projects that have already started. Tell me exactly how you will address streets and water in the future. Not just that we need to start projects, how will you expect the city to fund these? Similarly, regarding issues with the city's planning and permit process, how do you expect the city to become more, quote, business friendly?
I expect that we'll become more business friendly if we just simply work together as a mayor, as a city council, Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development Corporation. We need to be working in harmony, showing people our city and showing it to them in a positive light. That's not hard for me to do. When I came here, I saw potential real quick that San Angelo is a good place to live and work, and I believe I can demonstrate that to anybody else too. And I'm not a big proponent, though I don't want to take it off the table, of giving away big tax breaks and freebies to get companies to come here. I want them to want to come here for the same reason I wanted to come here. It's a good place to work. It's a stable environment for your business, and that you can be profitable. And I believe once we do that, we'll build our economic base, thereby building our tax base, and we'll have the money for a lot more things that we're sitting here talking about today, and we can take the stress off the homeowners and their tax burden.
When we met in early 2014, the city council and the city staff and the media all together, complete transparency, we decided that there are 5 priorities that we wanted to establish as a city council. Number 1 priority was water. Now, in the last 2 years, what we have done on water, We have the Hickory Water, the aquifer from McCullough County online. We can produce for you today, as citizens of the city, 6 million gallons of pure fresh water per day. We are in the process right now of drilling 6 more wells. When these 6 wells are drilled, we will be able to provide for our citizens 9 million gallons of water per day. And this is not a fairy tale figure. You take the amount that a pump will pump and you multiply it times 9. That's how you arrive at this figure. It's not, I'm not going to get political. It's not math. It is just simply math. We can provide 9 million gallons of water of Hickory when the wells are drilled. The plant is in operation right now. We can give you that water today. 9 million gallons is about what the city uses in the wintertime. So it is enough to survive on. The city has also considered wastewater. There's 7 million gallons of water per day that goes down the canal that we could be reusing every day. They're doing it in Big Spring, in Abilene, and in Wichita Falls. And I prophesy that within the next 10 years, every city in Texas, maybe in the Southwest, will be drinking wastewater. It is the thing of the future. It is now economically feasible. It can be done. We are also looking at the Red Arroyo project, which is the city owns 5,000 acre feet of water from the Concho River. We have that water that we own. 5,000 acre feet is an amount that is 1/3 of our annual water supply. We right now are looking at the affordability and the viability of creating a pond to capture 5,000 acre feet of water before we let the rest of it go down the Red Arroyo. This project may be extremely expensive. We are waiting for the engineers to tell us how much it will cost. We are involved with the West Texas Water Partnership, which is a partnership between Abilene, Midland, and San Angelo, and we meet and have been meeting for 2 years to look for water sources in this state that will provide for the water for our communities into the 22nd century. Water is available in the state of Texas, but it's extremely expensive. And the problem is to get the water from where it is to where it ain't. And we are working on that and have been for 2 years. We are highly proactive in water, and we are bound and determined and committed to having safe, fresh water for the citizens of San Angelo. The Permit and Planning Department was number 4 on our priority list, that we would streamline the permit and the planning department. And about several months ago, realizing that planning and the permit department was completely out of control, I called together the developers, and I called together the builders, and I called together the realtors, and I called together the staff, and I called together the directors in permit and planning and city council. And we met around a table and we said, here's the problem, what can we do? And we began to toss out ideas. The developers say you need to pay the people more money. They're not making enough money. You need to hire more people. You need software. And as the builders, we will pay more for our permits so that we can make this do. City Council authorized more individuals, and for the first time ever, about a month ago, we are now full strength in our permit and planning department. We authorized $500,000 worth of software to do electronically what they were doing manually. We increased the salaries of these people. That is a job that was most people couldn't live with for even a year. It's not an easy job. And the builder said, we will pay more. We now have gone from about 5 to 6 weeks on a residential permit down to 24 hours, which is perfectly acceptable. We have gone from the 8 and the 10 weeks on the commercial permits down to a goal of 3 weeks, and we are almost there. We also offered an option. If they wanted to pay a little more, they could go to an outside source to have their commercial permits reviewed. We are very proactive in this, and we did it because we brought all of the citizens together. We sat down, we compromised, we negotiated, and we fixed a problem. This is our number 4 priority, and we are very well on the way to success with this.
I have a follow-up question on water. El Paso has been very proactive at providing tax incentives for people to install low flush toilets and for people to go to xeriscaping. And this is a question for all 4 of you. The city of San Angelo, to the best of my knowledge, has not been very proactive in that, in offering these types of incentives for people to stop using water. Conservation seems to be simply raising the price of water, and doing that, people do use less water, but the revenues for the water department go down also. As candidates for the city council and for mayor, would you initiate a plan to provide tax breaks for citizens to install low flush toilets and for them to take out lawns and put in xeriscaping.
That's an easy answer, yes.
Then a follow-up, why hasn't it been done?
And that
About
one's
the mayor.
mine.
Pardon me?
Is that one mine or is that his?
No, I have just a follow-up question as to.
Because I can answer that question.
Okay.
We have. When Republic offered us $3.6 million for the use of our landfill, I immediately brought this to council. And I said, this is $3.6 million of new money. This is the citizens' money, and the citizens need to have the advantage of the money. And I got a 7-0 vote on the city council to take the $3.6 million and to put it in a special fund. That fund would pay off the $2 million of the deficit that we had in the water operating department. So, when you have to keep a department alive by selling water and you use less water, the deficits grow. We had a $2 million deficit in our water department. Council authorized by a 7-0 vote to take $2 million for this 3.6 and to pay off, to bring to zero the deficit in the water department. That left $1.6 million. It has already been proposed that we take the rest of this $1.6 million, and if people are interested in xeriscaping their lawn, and if they are interested in going to low flush toilets, if they are interested in doing anything that will conserve further water, we will have now a source and fund, $1.6 million that we could use to make these adjustments for these things that they are doing. It has not been approved by council, but the motion, the action is out there. It is being considered. It is a funding source. There is money in the account. This is something that we can do. It's something that we should do. It's already been proposed.
Can I say something very quickly on that? It makes me think back, Mr. Morrison, and I was in agreement with him about auditing the water department. I think he presented that to council. He was voted down. Is that correct, Mr. Morrison?
I asked for an outside audit of the water department because I had about 500 complaints. The council voted me down. They chose instead to do an internal audit of the water department, and an internal water audit was done. The complaints ended. We took care of our problems. We spoke with our directors, both in the water department and also the head man in the water, that's over the water department. And we told them we don't want any of these problems. We want these things solved. We want personnel trained. We want to get rid of these attitudes. We want this taken care of right now. And we did that. And the complaints went
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. I just wanted a yes or no on that.
The complaints went to zero, almost zero immediately. When you solve the problem internally, there's no reason to solve the problem again externally. We solved the problem with the internal audit. There was no reason to call for an external. All I wanted was results,
the only reason I
and we
wanted to
got
ask
them.
that question was because if we didn't have an audit, I'm not in favor of loaning or giving anybody $2 million to get their books straight if we don't get to see them and go over the books. That was my only point in question there.
Most these questions on transparency and the landfill and the trash have been answered. One on transparency, we've talked about the water department, the trash, but one on transparency that hasn't been addressed is the city manager accountability. And that would be to both the mayoral candidates.
I'm not real sure I understand the question.
It's, okay, the question is, transparency, when are we going to see that? And again, the water department investigation, the trash contract that we've talked about, but city manager accountability. I'm assuming the person that wrote this feels that the city manager is not being held accountable by the city council.
This is a personnel issue, and probably like in all companies everywhere, personnel issues are personal. They are done in a closed session, in an executive session. The city council has authority over the city manager, and the city council has authority over the municipal judge. Those are the only two positions of the city that the city council has any control over. We evaluate our city manager on an annual basis. We finished his evaluation back at right about the first of the year. we were acceptable of the job that he had done, but we asked that he do more, and we gave him written instructions as to what we wanted, and we looked at it again at the 6-month level, which was in our last executive session. And he has met and exceeded all of the expectations that we set for our city manager. And we voted on that in public, that we would accept and continue and to extend the contract of the city manager until the next one. But it's a personnel issue, and personnel issues are, you don't make all these personnel issues public. That's something that no company does. But we do evaluate him on a yearly basis. He passed, and we approved his contract, and we approved him continuing in open session. So we have done that, sir.
Good enough for me.
Okay, folks, I want to thank you very much. I think we're out of time here. We've actually gone past the time that we'd allocated for this, but thanks very much for coming out. Gregorio, would you like to say a few words? I just wanted to tell you that Conexion Hispana was our partner in this. Would you like to introduce your people?
Yes, sir. Everybody, thank you so much. A special thank you, San Angelo. Give me the opportunity serving to all communities. My staff is very probably working together with a Standard-Time. It's not for the companies, businesses. It's for San Angelo businesses. For everybody, thank you for coming, investing your time, and supporting to San Angelo. God bless you.
See you.